World of Tanks. It's a franchise that deserves its own theme song, which will be sung in a deep baritone by a quartet of good-looking young men in expensive suits. Like me, except that I'm not good-looking, or young, and I don't have an expensive suit. Or any suit. Or three friends. Or any friends. It's Tanks. It's WoT. It's that game that my mate's playing with those tanks in it. However, World of Tanks is intrinsically a lie. There is no world made out of tanks. There's a world, sure, if you consider a series of maps as a world, and there's tanks, but there's no world of tanks. I read the name and I wanted an entire world made out of tanks, which tanks fight over in an Alanis Morissette-esque misinterpretation of irony, which would be even better if the tanks were made of iron, which I'm pretty sure they're not. It's probably steel, or pixels. Unfortunately, this just isn't the case in World of Tanks, which just has a regular world with some tanks in it. The map layouts are pretty standard: winter, summer, desert, town, the moon. Okay, not the moon, but that would be awesome, despite throwing the world part of the name even further out from the truth. Maybe you could get away with the worldlet of tanks, but it just doesn't seem natural. Anyway, in World of Tanks, you get yourself a garage, and you fill that garage up with tanks to use shooting other players in tanks of various eras. Ever wanted to know how the Russian IS tank would fare against the German Panther? Me neither, but you'll inevitably find out anyway, as World of Tanks jams a history lesson that you didn't request in your eye sockets. In Tanks, you are treated to a veritable feast of World War II and Cold War era tanks, which is nice if you like feasting on motorised coffins made of reinforced metal and filled with the brave and the willing, which I do, so it's nice. This feast, nay, smorgasbord of tanks, features short tanks, tall tanks, long tanks, fat tanks, and any other shape or form of tank that you might need to create a little chant, and a corresponding dance routine like short tank, tall tank, long tank, fat tank, big fish, little fish, cardboard box. You'll be the crowning glory of any dance floor in the world, or maybe you'll be a sweating, gyrating twat trying to figure out an acceptable mime for tank. In World of Tanks, the tanks are ordered into tiers. You'll start out with a teeny weeny tier 1 tank, which has armour made of cardboard and a pop gun, and you will gradually research better tanks as well as the components to mount on them, up to the tier 10 monsters, which are mobile fortresses with guns like Ron Jeremy after a whole box of Viagra. The game has a pretty lengthy tech tree, and new toys are unlocked by experience gained in battle, which is awarded based on how you perform. I trialled this system in the bedroom to give some direction to my love life, but I never graduated from tier 1. Most battles are random battles where you'll be dumped into a battle situation with a bunch of complete spanners who seem to think that Sun Tzu wrote a book about tic-tacs and that you should never go into battle without minty fresh breath and a complete disregard for life or limb. In theory, the pace of the game should turn most maps into a campfest, with each side waiting for the other one to blink, overextend, or show an exploitable weakness. In reality, both sides lose between 1 and 2/3 of their force in the opening minute, as the spanners from each team charge each other and are decimated by the rest of their respective team. As you can see from this battle, our lights charge into the fray with nary a care for the enemy. On, you brave souls! Conquer and... oh, they're dead. Once the dust settles, the team with the least idiots will generally win, as they now outnumber their enemy. Once the initial gambit is thrown, the teams whittle away at one another, the winner being decided when one team either eliminates the other completely or completely controls the relevant capture point placed on each map. The key to victory is, in World of Tanks, generally patience. Patience I just don't possess. Unfortunately, this leads to me becoming everything I despise after minute 2 of each round, charging alone into the enemy with my teeth bared and a war cry on my lips before being brutally dissected by an unconcerned enemy force. So far so good. It's a roller coaster of metal mayhem from which one can either emerge victorious, baptised in blood and clutching the scalps of a vanquished enemy, or in a fetal position making themselves as small as possible while a little bit of wee comes out. Back in the garage, you'll see each of your tanks has a dedicated crew. These can be moved around, but it's best to keep them in one place as they gain experience as the battles go on, which make them stronger, faster, smarter, and generally more like the $6 Million Man. They gain special skills, which make them more and more like Liam Neeson in Taken. You can view the personnel files of any of your crew. Personally, I like to make up backstories for my crew members. Ladies, meet Feldwebel Richard Nussbaum. Formerly a gentle soul, Richard was hurt badly by his first love when she ran off with an English colonel. Now he loads shells by day, and by night he objectifies the women he lies with in a hopeless quest to bring back the pure and perfect love he once felt. Using his good looks and sexy German accent, he trawls the bars of wherever the World of Tanks crew go to unwind after work. Ja, tanzt in der Disco mit dem sexy Frauen. Just as a quick point of clarity, creating backstories for all of your men isn't necessary to play, and I'm told that it's not cool and quite creepy to make up sexual adventures for the little portraits which are arbitrarily assigned to your tanks. The tanks themselves come in different classes, light, medium and heavy. I'm going to presume you can work that one out. The different sizes of tanks allow flanking and skirmishing tactics to take place, in theory. In practice, the big tanks blow up all of the small tanks and then they shoot at each other until only one team has any big tanks left. But wait, World of Tanks is not just about tanks, therefore further deepening the lie. You can play other things as well, which are only sort of tanks. You can play tank destroyers, which are like tanks with bigger guns. Or, if you're the kid in class who everybody hates, you can play artillery. If you like camping, you're gonna love camping with artillery. It's pretty much what you see here. Look at a map and try and click down on the little tanks in time. However, it does give a feeling of power, as if you're a god looking down upon his minions. Which minion should I squish today, How about you? Oh, I missed. When in battle, it's not just a case of shoot, tank dies, move on. The firing model has been constructed so your shots need to penetrate to do any damage. Each area of the tank has an armour value, and this is applied to the coefficient angle of the armour to determine the chance to penetrate, apparently. In reality, it feels like every shot I fire generates a radio message from Stabsfeld Webel Gottfried Gerber telling me, in his oddly American accent, "We didn't penetrate their armour."
We didn't even scratch them. We didn't even scratch them. That one didn't go through. That one bounced. Ricochet. We didn't even scratch them. We didn't penetrate their armor.
Sometimes it really does feel like there's less penetrating action than you're likely to find in an entire building of live-action role players. Each tank also has several critical systems, tracks, engine, crew vents, etc., and damaging these will affect the performance of the tank. In this clip you see, I've just taken a hit to the engine and now I can do out but crawl around like a worthless shitty snail. Penetrating hits also have a chance to kill crew members as well, leading occasionally to the harrowingly hilarious situation when your tank is fine to continue, but every crew member is now a bloodied pile of entrails and excrement. The game shines slightly more in full team games where you have a bit less chance of people herring off on their own across the field to burst into glorious but useless flame in the middle of nowhere. As always in online multiplayer games, playing with friends who have opposable thumbs and higher brain functions is quite good fun. On the other hand, playing and interacting with people from the other side of the internet feels quite a lot like wading through the protoplasmic soup that preceded complex life on Earth.
Stuff on their left flank, so we can flank them. At the moment we are vulnerable, so you need to go out the way. You're in my fucking cover. Ed Badger, fuck off. Oh. Never go behind the same cover as your mate. It's a general rule. But
can anyone hit this T-71 that's going to kill me?
Don't need to share cover.
Badger, I didn't realise how much of a fucking noob you were.
I should probably include myself in that one as well. There are also larger clan battles which allow clans to capture and hold virtual territory, which will presumably keep them good in wine and wenches, because I can't think of another reason to bother, quite frankly. So there you have it. It's World of Tanks. There's no world made of tanks, you're not obliged to play a tank, and the tanks that are there are not necessarily tanks. Therefore I can only conclude that World of Tanks is a lie, there is no spoon, and that time that I got herpes, that didn't count, because if herpes is real, then tanks are real, and if tanks are real, then I have herpes, and if I have herpes, then so does your mum.
I'm gonna ride forever. You can't keep horsemen in a cage. Should the angels call? Well, it's only then I might pull in